Pei Qian is an ordinary office worker plagued by toxic bosses. Barely making it to work on time, he struggles through the day, juggling his job and his attempts to sneak in some gaming during breaks. His boss constantly monitors him, catching him off guard and forcing him into unpaid overtime. After another grueling day, Pei receives a link from his friend Yang to a fortune-telling test. While trying to open it, his phone falls into a trash bin, triggering an unexpected event. A robotic voice announces the activation of the fortune conversion system, and Pei is sucked into a surreal vortex. He wakes up back in his college dorm room confused. His roommates rush him to get ready for the deputy dean's class. As he processes his situation, a transparent screen appears introducing itself as Richest, a system designed to help him become wealthy. Richest provides Pei with funds to start a company, but the system imposes strict rules that Pei cannot use the company's money for personal expenses, and profit and loss will be converted into personal assets at a fixed rate. Excited by the opportunity to get rich, Pei quickly notices a loophole in the system. The loss rate is higher than the profit rate, meaning losing money could be more lucrative. Pei decides to exploit this flaw, aiming to lose all his funds to maximize his personal gains. Thrilled, he begins plotting his strategy. Richest reminds him to register his company and warns him against illegal activities or revealing the system's existence. After some deliberation, Pei decides to enter the gaming industry, noting its potential for both high risk and significant losses. Naming his company Tengda, he begins brainstorming ideas. Richest sets a tight 14-day deadline, leaving Pei in a panic. He turns to his friend Yang for advice, asking if creating a game in 2 weeks is feasible. Yang reassures him and demonstrates a simple development process, sparking Pei's confidence. With a clear plan, Pei purchases a basic driving simulator template for 20,000 yuan. He devises a deliberately boring game, Lonely Desert Road, where players must drive for 8 hours straight with no exciting elements. Convinced players will hate it, he sets the price at just 1 yuan, certain the game will fail and help him achieve his goal of losing money. Mr. Qiao, a content creator, searches for games to critique for his popular Bad Game Roast series. While browsing, he discovers Lonely Desert Road and decides to try it. The game's abrupt start and inability to pause catch him off guard, but its cryptic nature intrigues him. Hours pass as he persists, driven by a mysterious message hinting at a reward at the finish line. After 8 grueling hours, the game delivers a message declaring that he has wasted 8 hours of his precious life. Frustrated, Qiao shares his experience in a video. The next day, Pei checks the game's data again and is shocked to see downloads skyrocket past 8,000, nearing 10,000. Overhearing students discussing the game's intrigue despite its dullness, Pei panics and rushes back to his dorm for answers. He discovers Qiao's viral video is driving the surge in popularity. Watching the video with Yang, Pei grows increasingly anxious. His plan to fail and lose money is now backfiring. In desperation, Pei updates the game's description to warn players against it, calling it boring and unworthy. He even urges refunds, hoping to curb the unexpected attention. However, his attempt backfires as players flood the comments with humor. Many claim the game is absurd, with some likening their purchase to buying Pei a coffee. Pei is determined to make his next game fail, but he finds it more challenging than expected. After his first game, Lonely Desert Road sells 200,000 copies and earns 70,000 yuan in revenue. He ends up with only 700 yuan in profit due to expenses. Despite breaking into the top 10% of its peers, Pei feels no joy, as success makes his task harder. Richest reminds him that the fund grows, and Pei knows that with that, it becomes tougher to lose money. Pei's fund now sits at 300,000 yuan with a 30-day deadline to use it. Frustrated, Pei struggles to find out how to lose the money. One night, Yang invites him to join a game, and Pei agrees. While playing with their roommates, Yang makes constant mistakes leading to repeated losses. This gives Pei an idea. He needs someone like Yang to help him with his plan. The next day, Pei follows Yang everywhere, causing Yang to get nervous and demand to know what Pei wants. Later, Pei explains that he's developing a game and needs Yang's help. Yang is hesitant, concerned about the costs and their lack of game development knowledge. Pei reassures him, revealing that he's already earned 300,000 yuan from his first game. Yang is stunned, realizing that Lonely Desert Road was Pei's creation, and starts praising him. Pei, however, assures Yang not to worry about the next game's outcome, as its failure is exactly what he's aiming for. Yang buys a stack of books to help with their project, but that night he falls asleep while reading, further confirming to Pei how unreliable Yang is. Pei soon realizes that mobile games and indie games don't overlap, and many mobile gamers might not know about his company. He decides to make a mobile game, therefore, and researches popular card games, which originated in China as Mario and evolved into the collectible card games that thrive today. Seeing their massive popularity, Pei is convinced that the mobile card game market is highly competitive, and that makes it the perfect place for his next project, as he expects it to fail. Pei and Yang go to a restaurant, where Pei reassures Yang not to worry about the money. Pei decides to use the Three Kingdoms story as the foundation for their game, but he implies that it won't be an accurate representation of the real story. In fact, the changes they make to it will be intentionally designed to make the game fail. Pei decides to pay Yang 3,000 yuan per month for his help. A few days later, Pei and Yang share a meal, with Yang grateful for the payment Pei gave him for his help. Pei reflects that the system's limit of 3,000 yuan restricted him from paying Yang more. During their meal, Yang suggests turning the generals from the Three Kingdoms into female characters. Shocked, Pei rejects the idea, knowing it was used in an anime and was successful, which he wants to avoid. Pei emphasizes the importance of a strong game concept and dismisses Yang's suggestion to hire a talented artist, fearing it would further promote the game. Their debate escalates into a heated argument, causing the boat they're on to flip. Once calm, Pei reveals he's already hired an illustrator, Ruan, showing examples of his impressive work. During their online interview with Ruan, Yang tries to present the company as serious, but embarrasses Pei with his childish attire. Ruan demands a high fee, which Pei agrees to pay, offering even more. Pei instructs Ruan to work freely, trusting his professionalism. Ruan discusses the project with his skeptical team, who question the unclear character descriptions and suspect a potential scam. However, Ruan reassures them that the deposit has been paid and sees it as an opportunity to showcase their talent. He decides to handle the core designs himself, allowing his team to focus on the finishing touches. Pei accuses Yang of stealing someone's design, but Yang clarifies that Ruan created the impressive illustrations within the 2-week deadline. While Pei acknowledges the quality, he grows frustrated, fearing it could derail his plans. After punching a tree in anger, Pei isolates himself, leaving Yang to assume his frustration stems from financial strain. Later, Yang reports that their game, Phantom General, has 100 downloads but is criticized as repetitive and boring. To Yang's surprise, Pei is thrilled, believing his plan to sabotage the game is working. Ruan, however, is delighted with the effects added to his designs and impressed by how the simple gameplay highlights them. Confused by the shop's single item, a lifetime membership for 10 yuan, Ruan calls Yang, who explains that Pei prioritizes player enjoyment over monetization. Touched, Ruan becomes invested in the game's success. Yang tearfully lies that Pei is broke, having spent everything on development. Soon after, Yang excitedly announces the game has surpassed 10,000 downloads, with overwhelmingly positive reviews praising Ruan's designs. Pei learns that Ruan shared the game with his artist friends, who admired his work and promoted it, sparking viral buzz. Meanwhile, Li, a rival company's head, is enraged as Phantom General approaches the popularity of his game, The Three Kingdoms. Furious that his troll campaign to sabotage Pei's game failed, Li suspects Pei intentionally challenged him. Determined to eliminate Pei as a competitor, Li orders a plan to acquire Pei's company. Pei contacts Ezro customer service and is informed that Phantom General has been awarded the most recommended game of the month. They advise against changes during this period to maintain its success, but Pei shocks the agent by requesting its removal from the list. The request is escalated, but Pei regrets it, fearing exposure of his motives. Before he can respond, Richest warns him that his actions have triggered system suspicion. Pei quickly cancels the request, but grows frustrated upon seeing a low payout despite the game's popularity. Richest denies Pei additional funds. Meanwhile, Li orders his assistant Mr. Sun to acquire Tengda. Pei receives a call from Yang sharing Fuhui's offer to buy their company for 50 million yuan. Excitement turns to dismay when Richest warns against the deal, forcing Pei to decline. Yang suggests seeking investment, but Pei firmly rejects the idea. Li becomes enraged, especially upon hearing Pei wants to invest in Fuhui instead, considering it humiliating. At a restaurant, Yang offers to pay but is shocked by the high bill, amusing Pei. Inspired, Pei asks Richest if it can be reimbursed as a team-building expense and upon approval reassures Yang. A news report about IBM launching an advanced expert system sparks Yang's dream of creating a complex game. Pei agrees they need a larger team and decides to hire someone experienced in management. Elsewhere, Lin Wan resigns from Fiery Sky Studios, dissatisfied with the company's direction. Later, Pei hires Xin Hailu as his secretary. Outside the agency, they encounter Lin, who passionately defends Phantom General without realizing Pei owns it. When she learns the truth, she tries to rush after him but misses her chance. Pei waits at a cafe to meet Xin Hailu. She declares herself the best candidate for the secretary position, listing her skills and asking if he has any questions. Pei acknowledges her qualifications but asserts that she should only offer advice when asked. Hailu agrees and is ready to begin immediately, though Pei surprises her by admitting he doesn't have an office yet. They visit a high-rise tower where an agent shows them a spacious floor to rent. Pei decides to rent the entire floor, surprising both the agent and Hailu. The agent mentions the cost is 360,000 yuan per month, with a discount for taking the whole floor, but Pei remarks that the price seems too low, believing businesses should value themselves more. The deal is finalized and Hailu is tasked with purchasing office supplies. Pei insists on creating the best environment for employees, setting a budget of 800,000 yuan. Hailu is impressed by the generous budget and buys premium supplies, including a key card for Pei's personal office, allowing him to work overtime without returning to his dorm. Hailu presents a recruitment policy draft, but Pei finds it too strict and suggests hiring less competent employees to ensure minimal success. Hailu warns that unskilled hires could jeopardize their ability to produce a game, leading Pei to reconsider. He decides to recruit game developers himself and asks if he can claim expenses for business attire. Hailu confirms, prompting Pei to purchase the most expensive suits. Bao Zhu, a gaming addict recently expelled from school, catches Pei's eye as a potential recruit. Pei offers him a job as a game designer, despite Bao Zhu's skepticism. After offering Bao Zhu a salary advance, Pei convinces him to join. Later, Pei meets Hong, who is applying for the company. After offering him double the salary he requested, Hong eagerly accepts. Pei also hires Lin. At work, Huang feels his job is surreal with no overtime allowed and simple tasks. Lin and her colleagues speculate about Pei's goals, suggesting he might be trying to help them understand user perspectives by playing games or perhaps making them feel guilty for getting paid to play, so they'll work harder once the project starts. At the end of their shift, Pei arrives energizing the team with an announcement that their company's next target is to lead the gaming industry. He praises them as hidden gems, and their cheers echo through the office. In a meeting, Pei assigns Bao Zhu as the game's moderator and Huang as the lead designer, tasking them with creating a beginner-friendly game with cool-looking weapons and an incredibly long story. Huang raises concerns about overly simple controls, a bloated story, and in-game purchases affecting their reputation. Pei encourages him, saying he believes in Huang's ability to overcome the challenges. He gives them a week to draft the game. Later, Pei heads home but sees Bao playing games. As Bao bids him farewell, Huang thanks Bao for helping him hide as he works overtime, saying he wants to do his best for the company. Discussing the project, Bao suggests focusing on impactful features and shares his imaginative ideas. They visualize a game starting on an ocean where players explore an abandoned oil platform swarming with mummies. Bao explains simple mummy designs and emphasizes making them easy to destroy. When the team imagines adding a silent quest-giving character, they create scenarios where she aids the players while maintaining production costs. Returning to reality, Huang marvels at Bao's creativity and praises Pei's leadership for fostering their passion. They speculate about cool weapons, quote-unquote, envisioning a legendary weapon for the game. Huang and Bao work through the night, determined to perfect their draft. The next day, Yang notices them working overtime. Pei discovers the game design framework is nearly complete. Yang reports that Huang has encouraged everyone to stay overtime playing games for research. Instead of being upset, Pei sees this as an opportunity to invest in his team and pay them extra money, explaining to Yang that employees sacrificing their health and free time for the company deserves support. Huang presents the project proposal and Pei, overwhelmed by its length, delegates most tasks to Huang, but Huang insists that Pei still needs to decide on the game's title. Overhearing employees ordering food, Pei surprises the team with providing them the food himself. Yang explains Pei plans to provide free meals while they work. Hailu updates the team that professional trainers have been hired, though the gym renovation isn't complete, which excites everyone. Pei Pei later meets Bao to discuss the game's progress, expressing dissatisfaction with the minimal financial investment and demanding the budget be doubled. Meanwhile, Li informs Mr. Zhou that Fiery Sky Studio must acquire the completed project. Li's team notes Tengda's employees lack experience, with only one assistant having a decent resume. Li instructs them to poach Tengda's oil rig team. Yang soon calls Pei with alarming news of Fiery Sky's poaching attempt, prompting Pei to leave his class. Pei returns to his office and finds it empty, assuming his employees have abandoned him. He's relieved to discover they did not, and they were just in the AV room testing Project Oil Rig. Huang explains that Fiery Sky Studio tried to poach the team, but they chose to stay because they value Pei's leadership and treatment. Huang reveals the game is finished but needs polishing, though Pei redirects their focus to a team-building trip. During the trip, they visit Fiery Sky Studio, where Mr. Zhou, its head, reluctantly meets Pei. However, seeing Pei's confident demeanor, Zhou begins to perceive him as a threat. He boasts about Fiery Sky's impressive facilities, hoping to intimidate Pei, but Pei uses the visit to subtly demoralize his team by showcasing the studio's overwhelming scale. Despite Zhou's attempt, Pei's employees remain loyal, praising him over Fiery Sky's extravagance. Zhou overhears and grows frustrated, especially when he recognizes Lin among Pei's team. In a tense exchange, Pei defends Lin, highlighting her contributions. Zhou reveals Fiery Sky's new project, Bullet Mark, attempting to intimidate Pei's team. Mr. Zhou demonstrates their upcoming game, Bullet Mark, emphasizing Bullet Mark's goal to surpass Attack Plan. The team applauds, but Huang feels uneasy, comparing its immersive gameplay and free-to-play model with Project Oil Rig's 888 yuan price tag, fearing it might discourage players. Despite concerns, Pei remains calm and later gives a 10-day leave for his team. Huang, unhappy with the break, convinces the team to secretly improve Oil Rig's visuals and performance. Meanwhile, Pei reviews his finances, pleased with the higher investment compared to his previous game, Phantom General. He plans a team-building event including cinema, dinner, and karaoke. At the cinema, the team surprises him by announcing Oil Rig is debugged and ready for early launch. Pei feigns celebration but insists on launching alongside Bullet Mark, hiding frustration over his intentions being questioned. After launch, Bullet Mark overshadows Project Oil Rig, and the team discovers Pei allocated no marketing budget. While doubts surface, Bao defends Pei's strategy, reminding them of his past successes. Believing Pei is testing their resilience, the team approaches Hailu for a budget to gather feedback, but funds are unavailable. Determined, they decide to pay testers themselves. Lin introduces Broken Halberg, a legendary esports gamer, to Project Oil Rig, sending him the game's link. Initially skeptical due to the 888 yuan price for their legendary weapon, Pei Qian, he downloads the game. Despite criticizing the lack of a tutorial and basic graphics, he becomes engrossed after meeting a girl character in the game that is in need of protection. Fighting off mummies with smooth beginner-friendly controls, he discovers the game's compelling mechanics. Impressed, he visits the company, praises the game, and promises to promote it for free on his live stream. In the classroom, Pei learns from Yang that the game isn't performing well, and it excites him. However, Yang later reveals the game is gaining traction, leaving Pei both anxious and confused. At the office, Pei is surprised by a celebrity team, realizing Project Oil Rig is a viral success. Skeptical, he suspects secret advertising, but learns from Yang that engaging gameplay, an accessible story mode, and Broken Halberg's promotion sparked its popularity. On the terrace, Pei reads glowing player reviews, discovering he earned 400,000 yuan from the Fire Kitten weapon. Depressed, he reflects on redistributing the profits. Lin misinterprets his mood, thinking he feels guilty for overshadowing Bullet Mark, and encourages him to take a break, reminding him of the team's support. Pei initially considers giving half the profits as bonuses, but when Richest denies his request, instead he devises a system where employees can claim up to 3,500 yuan monthly for personal or work-related expenses, which Richest approves. Hailu suggests adding a 1,000 yuan shopping cart system, which Pei praises. The next day, Pei takes the team shopping to meet their spending targets, encouraging Huang to buy tools for convenience and convincing Ming to purchase a gaming phone. When Yang only selects phone cases, Pei insists he buy more, amusing Lin. As the deadline nears, Hailu confirms the targets are met, but Pei still has leftover funds. He wants to buy a watch, but learns from Richest that his net worth limits his purchases. Spotting perfume, Pei justifies it as a gift for Lin, who is flustered. Richest identifies Lin as the heir to the Shenhua group, allowing the purchase. Pei celebrates spending the surplus and schedules a meeting for the next day. At the meeting, Pei awards Huang and Bao for their performance, but announces Huang will leave, replaced by Ming Liang. Pei plans to have his most talented employees leave to ensure his games fail, but gifts Huang 1 million yuan to start his own business. Pei grants Bao unlimited paid holidays, advising him to expand his horizons. Huang says an emotional goodbye, and Hailu reassures him that once he starts his business, the fund will be transferred to him, as Pei mentioned a proposal isn't needed. Huang shares that the gaming industry is his dream, but he's certain Pei wants him to expand Tengda's business instead, and he won't let him down. When Hailu asks if he wants to say goodbye to Pei, Huang declines as he doesn't want to make it emotional and believes Pei is upset too. Meanwhile, Pei is in his office, dancing happily as the fund doubles to 1 million yuan. Huang instructs Lin and Ming Liang to update Project Oil Rig while he's away, but Ming Liang informs him that they won't be updating previous games since Pei wants to focus on new projects. Lin trusts Pei's judgment and believes he has everything under control. Pei plans to control the pace of the next project, deliberately slowing it down to prevent quick completion. He's determined not to update the existing games, especially since microtransactions could make them profitable again. He recalls past mistakes of trusting his employees and decides to make the new project as bad as possible. Pei meets with Ming and Lin to pitch a new game producer, that reflects the gaming industry's current state. The game will be deliberately boring, with choices affecting the outcome, discouraging players from spending time on it. As winter break approaches, Yang asks if he can stay at the office, but Pei encourages him to enjoy his vacation. Ming struggles with voice acting, but is reassured by Lin. Bao, feeling empty without work, begs Pei to return to the company, and Pei agrees and instructs him to help Ming Liang. Huang visits the company, and him and Bao decide to fix the glitches they've found in the game. When news about potential game updates leaks, the team is shocked as thousands of players express their support for the updates. Pei orders Lin to investigate who's behind the updates. Ruan enters the office with a flash drive, telling Hailu that it contains new characters for Phantom General. Hailu suspects Ruan is responsible for the updates, but Ruan denies it, claiming he's just offering his work for free. After some tension, Ruan reluctantly agrees to hand over the drive to Pei. Pei insists on not updating Phantom General and instead discusses his next project with Ruan. As Ming presents the new game, Pei praises his work, calling him a genius. He decides to release the game on April Fool's Day with a marketing plan already in place. Lin is confused by Pei's decision to hire an influencer, Mr. Zhao, to promote the game. Mr. Zhao has a reputation for roasting games, so Lin questions why Pei would choose him. Mr. Zhao is struggling with his channel's poor performance, so when he receives an offer from Lin to promote their game, he jumps at the opportunity even though he knows the game is terrible. After signing the contract, Mr. Zhao promotes the game in a video, calling it amazing, though deep down he regrets his decision. He receives 50,000 yuan from Pei's company and reveals it's Pei's way of getting revenge for his past criticism of Lonely Desert Road. Back at the office, Bao and Huang work overtime on Project Oil Rig, but Bao asks Lin not to tell Pei. He's secretly optimizing the game, worried that Pei might find out. When Lin mentioned the upcoming release of Game Producer, Bao admits that the game could flop, but he respects Pei for taking such a bold risk. April Fool's Day arrives and Mr. Chow's advertisement goes live, but the public quickly realize that the game's promotion was paid for. Players start to boycott the game. Pei, however, remains pleased, knowing everything is going according to his plan. Yang expresses concern that only a few players have downloaded the game, and Ming feels responsible for the failure. Meanwhile, Huang introduces an editor, Hu Yue, to interview the team and help salvage the company's reputation. However, she exaggerates Pei's actions during the interview, portraying him as a villain. Lin becomes upset upon realizing that Hu works for a rival company, Lee's, and confronts her. whose boss intervenes, praising Lee over Pei's company. In a separate interview, Pei reveals that he agreed to the interview for Lin's sake, who misinterprets the situation and starts recording, thinking Pei and Lin are in a relationship. Pei cuts the interview short and reflects on why he makes games, admitting he's trying to ruin his games to lose money, though no one would believe him. Meanwhile, Mr. Chow, reflecting on the public's negative view of him, buys Game Producer for 28 yuan to prove its failure. He becomes immersed in the game. Despite the game's warnings, he keeps failing, repeatedly making poor decisions and facing mockery from NPCs. Eventually, he relates to the main character's struggles and loneliness, realizing that, like him, the character was misunderstood. He cries, admitting the game's brilliance. Back at Pei's office, Hailu praises him, revealing that the game has gone viral thanks to Mr. Chow's coverage. Mr. Chow explains in a video that he made the ad for Game Producer on April Fool's Day to expose the flaws of short-form content, calling it a masterpiece. Pei, upset by Mr. Chow's impact on his plan, falls into despair, but his team celebrates the game's success. Suddenly, Pei receives a call from Lee, who accuses him of buying media attention. Pei hopes Lee may help him reach his goal of failing to make a successful game by challenging his company. But before they can speak further, Richest interrupts, informing Pei of a special mission. And to hear more of that one, keep your eye out on the notification bell. Haven't clicked it? Now's your time. Remember to subscribe and like the video as well. We'll see you next time.